Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ole Walls House! Let's get fucking listening, baby! Yes!
Welcome to Ole Walls House. It's me. It's your man. It's your main man. It's your main man and host. It's Ole Walls, and I'm back with you, ladies and gentlemen. Episode number 97 coming your way. So just want to start off saying thank you to everybody. I appreciate all the support. So thank you. I can't say thank you enough to you guys for hanging out, watching, listening. I appreciate it so much. As always, a little housekeeping. If you could, please rate, review, comment, subscribe, and share. Share the show. Ole Walls House is where it's going to be. We're going to talk some NFL football today. We're going to talk some college football today. Pretty big disappointments in my sports fandom this weekend. Nothing new. Getting used to it. We're in that stretch where I just have to deal with that kind of shit, I guess. So we're also talking a little hockey. Some brief fights. We're going to talk some TV shows and movies in passing thoughts as well. So fun show coming. Before we get there, though, let's talk about a little Liquid IV, category-winning hydration brand fueling your well-being. Again, hydration isn't only for people training for championships. Proper functional hydration is essential, and Liquid IV is the number one powered hydration brand in America. Their hydration multiplier is the one product you're missing in your daily life. See, I use it. I like it. I like the Concord Grape flavor. I like the individual packaging. It helps for when you're on the road. And, one stick, 16 ounces of water, hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. Contains 5 essential vitamins, B3, B5, B6, B12, and vitamin C. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drinks. Made with quality ingredients, non-GMO, non-gluten, non-dairy, and non-soy. And Liquid IV believes in equitable access to clean water, and they've donated over 39 million servings in 50-plus countries around the world. So here's what you do. You go to liquidiv.com, or you go to the link in the show notes below, down there somewhere. You just got to click around for it. Liquidiv.com, promo code OWH, O for Ole, W for Walls, H for House. Promo code OWH, 20% off, liquidiv.com. All right, let's get to the show. NFL Week 10 is almost in the books. We have the Bills and the Broncos going tonight. Unsure if I'm going to do a Monday night for this. Definitely next Monday is going to have one, but unsure for this week. So if I don't, if the Bills win, that's good. That's what they're supposed to be doing in games like this. If they don't, that's an issue. If the Broncos win, are we maybe onto something? And if they don't, then, they don't. Because, the Broncos, who have played the Chiefs twice in the last 4 weeks, counting this week, so twice in 3 weeks, they have a win over the Chiefs and a win over the Packers their last 2 weeks. So they're looking to stay hot this week against the Bills. So if the Broncos win, the Packers win is irrelevant. But if the Broncos beat the Chiefs and the Bills in back-to-back weeks, we may have to start talking about them. So just something to feel out. Granted, their only other win is over the Bears. So 2 of their wins are trash, and obviously they got fucking boat raced by the Dolphins. But we'll address if necessary. So let's move to my team, the Green Bay Packers. It was another week. Another interesting game, if you will. They go down to the Pittsburgh Steelers. There were, some good aspects to notice here. We scored in the first half. We had a very nice first drive. Jordan Love found Romeo Doubs in the end zone. I continue to kind of be high on Doubs. That said, I thought we got more out of Doubs this week than what we did. Doubs only had 3 catches for 31 yards and a touchdown. It felt like more, but apparently not. Aaron Jones had 4 catches. And then Jaden Reed, who also scored a touchdown, had a nice day. He got found deep at one point. and he goes five catches for 84 yards. So Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs had nice games. Then Tavian Wicks had a couple of catches. Again, it felt like more. Luke Musgraves just basically had that one deep catch where he fell over like he always does. Who did not have a good game was Christian Watson, who had 2 catches for 23 yards. And, man, the Packers were in this game, and they were coming down the stretch. And Love was trying to find him back there, and he ended up just forcing it into double coverage on second down when it was obviously 4 down the football, under 4 minutes left. Packers end up getting the ball back anyway, and Love throws a pick as time expires. I mean, pretty much didn't matter. You have to score it there. I think they had 3 seconds. So it was, again, frustrating, and it's now come – I saw a stat that half of Jordan Love's picks on the year have been when he's been targeting Watson. So they're just absolutely forces trying to get Watson involved, which is concerning. Like there's no doubt about that. Like that's concerning. So yeah, he's thrown 10 picks this year. 5 of them have been to trying to get the ball to Watson. Just a 58% passing rate, completion percentage for Jordan Love. The Packers were just getting absolutely gashed in the run game for big runs, for steady runs. What did the Steelers end up rushing for? 205 yards as a team. Only threw it for 119. God, this game is eerily familiar to some other game I'm going to talk about here in a minute. But yeah, just bad run defense. And it's been an issue. It's been an issue for a number of years, that just run over. The defense just getting run over. Joe Barry, who I thought should have been gone last year, has got to be on the hot seat. This was supposed to be an awesome defense that hasn't performed awesome. What else would I? Oh, the Packers offensively were just going deep, just constantly, just like multiple deep shots. I don't know if that was the reads or the play calling. It felt like a lot of play calling with a little reads. Maybe I'm misreading that myself, but it felt like that was on purpose. Like we're going deep. Like that felt like what it was about. Hey, maybe it was a purposeful thing. Maybe it was just the way the game shook out. I guess you'll see more in the future if that comes together. Maybe it was just a one-time game plan. It was what they were thinking to do to the Steelers, but in the long run, it didn't work. And this is another game that the Packers lost that they could have won in just a stretch of games for them. That was the case, that they could have won but didn't. I think it tells you something. I think it tells you this team is not good, and the games they've lost are games they should have won. When they lost to the Falcons, they did find a way to come back and beat the Saints, but they lost to the Falcons. They lost to the Raiders. They lose to the Broncos. Again, I've said all this before. All under 1-score games. Like those are games you should be winning. So Falcons, Raiders, Broncos, Steelers now. 4 games that they could have won. You toss the Saints out, so there's 3 games because you could easily flip them to be 6-3. Now, Jordan Love again. There were moments where he looked okay, but it doesn't seem like he's progressing per se. It seems like he's having some moments here and there, but it doesn't feel like they're ever really strung together. It feels like, I don't know if just the way it looks, it just looks like he's always letting the ball go off his back foot. It feels like he won't ever step into it. It feels like he never moves up in the pocket. It's always back or to the side. I mean, I just remember watching Brady. Brady was notorious for just moving up in the pocket, just scooching up. Also, if we're just going to sit Love in the pocket and he won't do that, he seems to have a decent set of wheels on him. Maybe get him out on bootlegs, call something like that so we can get him out running, on purpose. But I don't know. It's not working, obviously. They're not winning games. They're 3-6 now. And there's like a nightmare scenario for the Packers out here. with the way the schedule shakes out. The Chargers, who played a hell of a game against the Lions and scored a bunch of points, hard to think that the Packers defense is going to stop that. But the Chargers are weird, man. They're coming east, up in the Green Bay. I don't think it's actually going to be that cold on Sunday. But, Lambeau, weird spot. The Chargers could drop that game. So just say the Chargers drop that game. Now the Packers are 4-6. They lose to the Lions. They lose to the Chiefs. 4-8. The rest of the way, the Giants, terrible. The Bucks, not great. The Panthers, terrible. The Vikings, who knows what they're going to be by then. They've been pretty fucking amazing all of a sudden, but the Saints started to come back on. And the Bears, not great. So say they're 4-8 going into those last 5 games. Or 3-9, whatever it may be. They're probably going to beat the Giants. They probably beat the Panthers. And I think they could very easily beat the Bears. So that gets them the six wins. Just if they lose to the Chargers, lose to the Bucks, lose to the Vikings. Now what happens if they somehow sneak a win out of the Chargers, or just say they lose to the Chargers, then beat the Bucks and the Vikings, and they win 5 straight at the end of the year and go like 7-10 or 8-9, or God forbid go like 9-8 and then miss the playoffs? Because how's that shaking? Eagles are in, Cowboys are going to get better than 9-8. 49ers, Seahawks, there's 2. Lions, Vikings have a better record. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so they're going to have to outplay the Seahawks and the Cowboys and then the Vikings coming in to get in the playoffs, which I don't see any of that happening. The Vikings have won fucking 5 games in a row now, by the way. They were 1-4, and now have won 5 in a row. So the nightmare scenario is they start winning at the end of the year and just totally fuck up a draft pick and go from like top 10. Where are they at right now? Pull up the Tankathon. I keep the Tankathon webpage open on my phone at all times. They are currently slated for the 6th round pick. 2 games ahead of Carolina. Chicago's 3-7. Then you have New England, the Giants, and Arizona all at 2-8. Now they win like 6-7 games. Now you're talking, up in the range where you could get into like catching up with maybe the Colts if the Colts have a bad finish. The Raiders could have a bad finish to the year. Atlanta's 4-6. Denver's 3-5. Like you could get by some of those teams if you get to 7 or 8 wins, and then all of a sudden you're going from picking 6th up to like 12th. That is the worst case scenario. This year either needs to be a total debacle, or they have to win every game for the rest of the year. Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. Yeah, 8 games. They have to at least win 7 of the last 8 and get to 10 wins, go 10-7, and make the playoffs and like really find something. Or they just need to lose, essentially. And the problem is the schedule sets up that they're going to get some dumb wins in there, I think. I think there's at least 3 wins left for the rest of this year. I'd prefer if there weren't that many at this point. Like, I'd prefer that the Rams would have had Matt Stafford. We could have just lost that game, too. Because, had they, if you beat the Rams and you beat the Steelers, you're 4-5 now, and you would have beat the Broncos or the Raiders. Just say you get one of those games. Just one of those previous games that you lost. You beat the Steelers. And instead of being 3-6, you're 5-4. Then we can talk about winning. But we're not in that position, and it's a disaster. It's a disaster waiting to happen. It's middle-of-the-road shit. And I don't want to get caught in middle-of-the-road shit, and we don't need a Jordan Love run at the end of the year to make people be like, maybe he's our guy. Because I just don't see it. Let's just get to the point of moving on quicker and get through the next step. You get your quarterback in the draft. You let Jordan Love play out the next year. You let the guy that you drafted train up, maybe at the very tail end of the year. Don't rush him in there. Give him a year. Let's get to going to that instead of being like, well, maybe if we just make a good draft, we can put some pieces together. This team is not close. This isn't like we add a couple pieces. There is no number 1 wide receiver. The offensive line is beat to hell. The defense gets just absolutely gashed in the run game. This is a couple years away from getting back, it feels like. So let's get to getting back. No half-ass, get to the rebuild. That's where I'm at. Unless you're going to win every game, pretty much, for the rest of the year, which isn't going to happen. Let's get to getting on the rebuild. Just thinking. Also, the Steelers were outgained again by the Packers. So they have been outgained in every single game this year. They have won 9 straight one-possession games, 6 of them this year. The Steelers are not a good football team. I'm not even saying that as like a salty Packers fan. Like, I'm actually, like, at this point, I think I'm happy the Steelers won because, again, I don't think there's enough wins to do something with. But, like, the Steelers are not a good football team, and they are just sneaking wins out somehow. You know, they snuck one out over the Browns, who were playing a little rough. They sneak one out over the Raiders. They steal one against the Ravens. They get the Rams, who I'm not really sure about. They steal one against the Titans. Kind of snag one against the Packers. Like, I don't know. And now there's some wins out there for the Steelers still. They got the Cards. They got the Patriots. So, I mean, that can get them to 8 wins. They got the Colts, maybe 9. There's a chance for the Steelers. The AFC North is just so tough. So tough. They got the Browns, the Bengals twice, the Ravens yet again, the Seahawks. It's a tough road. Tough road home for them. Speaking of the Ravens, they get out to a big lead. I have them minus 6.5. They get out 24-9. I've got them in a teaser as well. Everything's looking wonderful. And then back come the Browns. A little sign of life from Deshaun Watson, maybe. Who knows? Maybe he's finding a little something. I don't know. But 24-9, a team like the Ravens should be able to put the Browns away. And it felt like they had their chances and they just didn't capitalize. Tough loss for the Ravens. Not the end of the world. They're still leading the division, only by 1 now. They could have really taken a step. That would have put them, if they win, they would have been 8-2, and the Browns would have been 5-4. Could have put them, 2 games ahead of the Browns and just 1 game ahead of the Steelers, again, who I don't think are very good. Sorry to all my Steelers fans that are listening, but I think that was a big miss. The Browns make it interesting. They miss an extra point after a pick 6 to tie the game. Eventually, they get into field goal position for what's going to become a theme here, a game-winning field goal as time expires. So the Browns pull off a big win for them. They stay just 1 back of the Ravens for the AFC North. Elsewhere in the AFC North, the Texans and the Bengals. C.J. Stroud, ball in again. Absolute monster game. He let me pull the stats up on him. I didn't write them down for some reason. I'll have to just scroll to it here for just a second. But just an absolute another monster game. 356 passing yards. Throws a touchdown. Throws a bad interception late in the game that gives the Bengals life. After Burrow had thrown kind of a bad interception himself. And then Burrow hits a guy in the end zone. I think it was 89. And the dude just drops it. I had the fucking Bengals in this fucking little whoop-de-doo teaser too. So, I mean, as the Bengals and the fucking Ravens are just fucking it away from me. All they had to do was win. And they both just fuck it away. So they end up having to get a field goal to tie. And then, again, to go with the theme. Here comes C.J. Stroud again. Both a C.J. Stroud theme and a Week 10 theme. C.J. Stroud leads them down the field for a game-winning field goal. C.J. Stroud, balling. We're going to circle back to C.J. The Vikings, Josh Dobbs is doing it again. The Vikings are alive. Like I said, the Vikings are very much in the playoff hunt now after winning 5 games in a row. They're a couple games back of the Lions, 6-4 to 7-2. So, the Vikings still have their bye week coming up, so we'll see how it all shakes out. But they're in the hunt. They're in the wild card race with the 6-3 teams with the Cowboys and then the 49ers and the Seahawks. Looks like the South's only probably going to get 1 team. So, There's two teams coming out of the East, probably two teams coming out of the West. It's up to it looks like it's the Vikings spot to lose. So that's crazy. Josh Dobbs just fitting right in. Mentioned the 49ers a couple times. They've rebounded after losing 3 in a row. They put an absolute beat down on the Jags. The Jags are an interesting study. They're still leading their division. Not a great division, but here come the Texans. Like, look out. Who did the Jags got coming up? They got the Titans this week and then the Texans after Thanksgiving. So that could be a huge game for the division if both win. Who do the Texans have this coming week? The Texans go to the Cardinals, so a very winnable game. Then hosting the Jags. That's the Texans are making that division a lot more interesting than I think any of us thought at the beginning of the year. I think MJ and I decided that was pretty much the Jags division, that nobody else was going to be there. CJ Stroud has come alive. Now, and again, more about this later, but is it 2 weeks? I mean, 3 weeks ago, they lost to the Panthers. Let's not forget that. Chargers, Lions, what a game. Just back and forth. People scoring. Chargers, again, find ways to lose. The Lions go for it on 4th and 2 instead of kicking like a 46-yard field goal. End up getting it on 4th and 2 and take a time down and win the game on, you guessed it, a game-winning field goal. Cardinals, Falcons, Kyler Murray's back. Just the scramble of his life on 3rd down with like a minute 45 left in the game. And he leads the Cardinals down, makes a good pass down to like the 10 to 15 for, you want to guess? You want to guess? You got it. A game-winning field goal. It just keeps happening. Oh, wait. It happened again. The Commanders and the Seahawks, and yet another back and forth game in that late afternoon slot. Game-winning field goal. So just a bunch of crazy games in the NFL. Just elsewhere, the Colts and the Patriots play just an absolute fucking barn burner in the morning. God, that sucked. The Bears and Panthers played an ugly Thursday night game. I was on the under in both of those, so actually got that one right. It turns out life isn't too short to bet the unders this year. Buccaneers get a win. What else am I missing? Oh, the Cowboys just absolute annihilate the hapless New York Giants. There's really no team in the NFL that beats bad teams and just beats the shit out of them like the Cowboys and then just can't beat the good teams. Like, let's look at their record this year. Let me see if there's some validity to that. I want to make sure I'm not just like that working that in my mind. Beat the Giants 40-0. They beat the Jets 30-10. They lose to the Cardinals, so they lose to a bad team. Beat the Patriots 38-3. Lose to the 49ers 49-10. Beat the Chargers 20-17. Beat up on the Rams 43-20. Lose to the Eagles. Beat up the Giants 49. Yeah, it tracks. They've also scored 89 points against the fucking New York Giants this year. They got the Panthers next week, so they're going to beat the shit out of them. Then they got the Commanders on Thanksgiving Day. Probably beat them up pretty good. Seahawks, you never know. Tough stretch. They go Seahawks on November 30th, and then the Eagles on December 10th. That's a Thursday. Oh, they play back-to-back Thanksgivings. Interesting. So, Mike Evans on his way to another. Sorry, I'm rubbing my face while I'm talking. Mike Evans on his way to another 1,000-yard season. I saw this tweeted by somebody, and gosh, I forget who it was. Maybe I took a picture of it. I'll give a little credit where credit's due here, because his point was well made. Grant Paulson, he's a DC sports guy. I've been following him since I lived down in that area. Mike Evans is on his way to his 10th 1,000-yard season in a row to start his career. Sneaky great player who never gets mentioned among the elite, but he is steadily outstanding. It's a great point. And, the Bucs have been a middling team outside of a couple of years with Brady there. So, yeah, he does. He flies under the radar, and he is fantastic. Anything else? I think that's mostly it. Just spin through the standings. Been talking about the NFC quite a lot here. Saints in charge down on the NFC South. Bucs just like a half game back there. Falcons creeping around. Panthers obviously terrible. NFC North, the 2-horse race. NFC West, the 2-horse race. NFC East, 2-horse race. And really, I don't think it's much of a 2-horse race there. AFC, you got the Bills and the Dolphins in the East. The Chiefs are now kind of breaking away from the Raiders and the Chargers. I mean, I think they should have that under control. AFC North, obviously, probably the best division in football, despite the fact that the Steelers stink. The Bengals, 5-4, tough loss for the Bengals. And the NFC South we were talking about. Here come the Texans. And the Colts are right there. I just don't know what to think about the Colts. So, yeah. Anything else? The longest current win streak in the league, Minnesota Vikings. 5 games. Started 1-4. Monday Night Football next week is a big one. Eagles at Chiefs. Sunday Night Football next week. Vikings, Broncos. No thanks. Jets, Bills, Bucks, 49ers. Nothing that stands out, honestly. Ravens, Bengals on Thursday. That's what stands out. Both of those guys coming off a loss this week. So we got 2 great bookends. Ravens, Bengals on Thursday. Eagles, Chiefs on Monday. Some decent little matchups here and there throughout the week, but nothing crazy. But they'll all turn out to be good games, of course. So, CJ Stroud. I was sent this by good friend of the program, Matthew Johnson. This was from the Twitter account NFL Rookie at NFL Rookie Watch, but replace the C with an X. And I don't agree with this list we'll talk about. And this leads to a bigger question mark. This says NFL teams besides the Texans that CJ Stroud would automatically become the QB1 on. It's going to list the team and the quarterback. The Jets, Zach Wilson. The Dolphins, Tua. Patriots, Mac Jones. Ravens, Lamar. Steelers, Kenny Pickett. Browns, Deshaun. Colts, Gardner. Titans, Will Levis. Raiders, Aiden O'Connell. Broncos, Russell Wilson. Cowboys, Dak Prescott. Commanders, Sam Howell. Giants, Tommy DeVito. Lions, Jared Goff. Vikings, Josh Dobbs. Packers, Jordan Love. Bears, Justin Fields. Saints, Derek Carr. Bucks, Baker Mayfield. Falcons, Taylor Heineke. Panthers, Bryce Young. 49ers, Brock Purdy. Seahawks, Geno Smith. Rams, Brett Rippon. Cardinals, Kyler Murray. I disagree vehemently with 3 teams on that list. The Ravens, the Cowboys, and the Lions. You're not trading those quarterbacks to get CJ Stroud. I think there's a couple on there you could discuss. I would say probably Tua and the Dolphins. You're not just giving him away. And I don't know that the Browns are just done with Deshaun. Like I said, he showed a little sign of life. But other than that, that's a lot of teams that just got listed out. And I think that says something about some of the quarterback play going on in the NFL today versus where we were maybe 10 years ago. There's a lot of teams I just listed that their quarterbacks are bad to awful, and a lot of them are going to move on very quickly or try to find the next guy. And that's the thing. So I wanted to look, what are the starting quarterbacks? Let's just go back to like 2013. And as I see Matt Stafford here, Justin Herbert's kind of becoming the Matt Stafford of the NFL, of this year. So starting quarterbacks, let's see. And now some of these guys are established and are going to sound better than some of the guys going right now. Aaron Rodgers, obviously the Packers would take him right now. Drew Brees, the Saints are going to take him right now. Brady, New England's taking him. Peyton Manning in Denver in 2013, yes, they're taking him. Eli Manning with the Giants, they are obviously going to take Eli. Andrew Luck with the Colts, they'd take him. Matt Ryan at the time with the Falcons. Joe Flacco is just coming off winning a Super Bowl in 2013. In hindsight, you'd probably take Lamar over him right now just because you kind of know what you're getting going forward. Ben Roethlisberger with the Steelers. At this point, 31 years old, just a couple years removed from leading the Steelers to the Super Bowl. Tony Romo in Dallas, maybe you could make an argument that Dak would be similar. Robert Griffin with Washington, he's coming off an electric year. Obviously, it doesn't work out. Russell Wilson with Seattle, he's about to lead them to the playoffs and to the Super Bowl and just absolutely trounce Denver. Andy Dalton, who was a pretty good quarterback. Now we're starting to get down there a little bit. Stafford, who was just putting up elite numbers, crazy good arm. Kaepernick who was still fantastic at this point. He was, I think this year in it was the next year when he just started fucking destroying the Packers in the playoffs. Cam Newton was still playing pretty good. Now we're getting down there, but now we're like 15 down. You want to name 15 quarterbacks today? You had Jay Cutler in Chicago at 17, Sam Bradford in St. Louis, Matt Schaub in Houston. Phillip Rivers at 20 with San Diego? Like, there's a lot of teams that would take a 31-year-old Phil Rivers. Carson Palmer in Arizona. An older Mike Vick in Philadelphia. He was probably past it at that point. Alex Smith at 23 in Kansas City. Alex Smith, 23 in Kansas City. Jake Locker, 20. I forgot about fucking Jake Locker. Sanchez with the Jets, he stunk. Tannehill with Miami, who's kind of had a little revival. Matt Flynn was in Oakland. Brandon Weed in Cleveland. E.J. Manuel, Josh Freeman, Blaine Gabbert. But, I mean, there's like 16 quarterbacks. I mean, granted, there's some guys that are hurt on this list, but like, so, you'd have Rodgers instead of Zach Wilson, but Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett, the Colts, Gardner Minshew, they would have had Anthony Richardson. Titans, it's either Tannehill, an old Tannehill, or Will Levis. The Raiders, Jimmy G or Aiden O'Connell. The Russell Wilson you're getting from the Broncos, you're trading for any of those top 15 guys. The Commanders, the Giants, even with Daniel Jones, I think you're trading for any of those top 15 or 20. It's 16, 17, 18 guys. Jordan Love with the Packers, Derek Carr, Baker, Taylor Heineke, or Desmond Ridder. Bryce Young, give him some time. Brock Purdy, like a lot of guys are getting traded. Geno Smith. I mean, I think you're talking about some deep talent. I mean, you're getting down to Cam Newton 16, Jay Cutler 17, Sam Bradford 18 before you're going. But then I think they have Phillip Rivers, criminally low. And wasn't Carson Palmer having a nice year in like 2013 too? Alex Smith at 23. So I think there's like 18 guys that you're taking over a large portion of the NFL quarterback state. Let's just go through and say those 18 guys, who aren't you taking them over? Just give me the NFL standing. Good Lord. Tua, not necessarily over some of them. You're keeping Josh Allen. You'd keep Rodgers with the Jets. Mac Jones, gone. You're keeping Mahomes, Raiders, they'd trade anybody. Chargers are going to keep Herbert. Again, Herbert, Matt Stafford with the Lions. Ravens are going to keep Lamar. Steelers, there's a lot of those guys. Kenny Pickett, they give up. Joe Burrow, they'll keep. Browns, we'll see. Jags are probably keeping Trevor Lawrence. You're going to keep C.J. Stroud. The Colts, I think, would trade in even Richardson, and the Titans would as well. Then you go over to the NFC. Eagles and Cowboys are probably keeping their guys. Commanders and Giants would give it away. I think the 49ers would take any one of those top 15-ish guys. Seahawks probably would take a lot of them. If you're the Rams, could you trade in? If you could trade Matt Stafford for, a 12 years ago Matt Stafford, 10 years ago. The Cards, I think, are looking for a new quarterback. Lions are probably keeping Jared Goff right now because Jared Goff's playing good, but the Vikings need a quarterback. The Packers do, the Bears do, the Saints do, the Bucks do, the Falcons do, and maybe the Panthers do too. So it's an interesting study, and that's just 10 years ago. That's not like, back in my day, It's still pretty much the same set of rules and stuff. So very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. College football time. I'd like to sit here and be eating a bunch of crow, but unfortunately that's not what's happening. I'm going to sit here and tell you, I told you so. The Penn State Nittany Lions lose a game that was winnable. They would have had to play well to do it, but they lose a game against the top 5, top 10 opponent for the 10th time. They can't get it done. I mean, and they got themselves in this game at different points. But what it comes down to is the fact that they just can't get it done. And, Penn State actually scores first in this game, which is kind of wild. And then all of a sudden it breaks open. And it looks like it's going to be bad. And Penn State has a 4th down, and they get a little creative. They bust out of this fucking boring-ass offense and get a little creative. We get a little halfback pass back to Aller. and it leads to a touchdown. And all of a sudden, it's 14-9. You're going to kick the extra point. It's going to be 14-10. There's 30 seconds left to go in the half. You're getting the ball out of half. You're going to have momentum. You're going to have a chance to come out of the half and take the lead. What happens? James Franklin, in his infinite wisdom, decides to go chasing points in the first half. Now, I'm no football savant here. I'm just a dummy. I'm just a dummy who watches games and got talked into doing this shit 97 weeks ago, and here I am still doing it. But you don't chase points in the first half. Like, I don't know if this, like, the analytics crowd has just taken over, but, like, just don't chase points when you don't have to is, like, always what I thought the prevailing thought was. And I thought it was a good thought. Don't chase points is a saying for a reason. My brother always tells me, sayings are sayings for a reason. Don't chase points is a saying for a reason. So now instead of just being down 4 in a normal event of kicking a fucking extra point, which, hey, may not have been too normal. We have seen extra points and shit blocked, but we go for 2, don't get it. Whatever, you can rebound, come out of the half. Everything else I said still stands. You got the momentum, you're at home, you're getting the ball coming out of half. And Drew Aller, who had another horrendous game, it is his first year starting. Like, I think we need to step back and remember that, but, like, this has been bad. Like, I think it begs the question, do you go to somebody else in these final 2 games? At least give somebody else some time. I don't know what else there is on the bench. I almost thought I heard someone say there's, like, another Clifford kid. Is there a backup quarterback who's a Clifford? Am I imagining that? Let me see. Penn State backup quarterback. Who is it? Bo Prabula. No. So, not a backup Clifford. I thought it was a backup Clifford for some reason. Oh, God. You just have Sean Clifford for so long. Also, friend of the program, Big Daddy Nick Place, said Penn State is 10-0 with Sean Clifford at quarterback this year. Just something to put out there. But yeah, so Clifford fumbles at midfield. And gosh, Michigan just did what they did for the rest of the fucking half. They ran the ball down Penn State's throat. 30 straight times to end the game. They threw the ball one time. It technically does not count. It was a pass interference. It was a bullshit pass interference and may have affected the game a little bit. But, I mean, then you just assume that the Penn State offense would have been able to do something with the ability of getting the ball back. And that's just, I just don't think it's there. Franklin was punting on 4th down a lot from, spots where you'd consider going for it. In hindsight, maybe that's not the worst decision he's ever made because this team could not do anything with the ball. And, eventually they get to a point where there's about 4.5 minutes left in the game. They're down on like their own 30. And Aller has a guy crossing across the middle. He just throws it flat out behind him. The guy stops and gets a hand on it. But, I mean, if he puts it out in front of him, like he should, it's a first down, no problem. The drive can keep going. And then on 4th down, he just threw it to absolutely fucking nobody. Like, to nobody. And, the defense comes back out, and Michigan immediately scores the very next play. Penn State gets the ball back, and there's points where in the drive to go score, they're running the ball with under 4 minutes left, down 2 scores. It's 24-9 with under 4 minutes, and they're running the ball because there's no faith in Drew Aller, who goes 10 of 22 for 70 yards. Let's go to another thing while we're talking stat lines. Penn State lost a game to a team that their starting quarterback went 7 of 8 for 60 yards. They picked up like another 30 on that. Yeah. 7 of 8 for 60 yards. This was a much hyped Penn State team and a very much hyped Penn State defense. 60 passing yards and you lose. They ran the ball 30 times. 30 times in the second half. There were 134 total passing yards in this game. Oofta. Penn State ends up scoring, and here's the catch. Now Penn State, it's 24-15. They're down 9. Instead of being down 8 and being able to kick an extra point and be down 7, now they're left with this choice. Do we go for 2 now, or do we go for 2 later? I have no problem really with them going for 2 here. You're going to have to do it at some point. It's almost like, well, if you do it now, at least you know, hey, we got to go score twice more from here. Not like you kick the extra point and then you just got to go for 2 to tie the game. And then so I don't really have a problem with them going for 2 at that last juncture. I know Franklin got it a little bit in the post-game interview from a reporter. He's like, well, why'd you go for 2 there? And I really, I don't have a big bitch. I mean, you just look at this game, and it's the same thing. I told you, I knew it was going to be the same thing. I knew there was nothing different. I've seen this team play. They haven't been, they couldn't get the ball downfield. Franklin got pressed on that. The guy said, you just throw it up to throw it up. And it was a terrible question, but the reporter was coming from the right place. And it was kind of annoying that the rest of the media was like, oh, no, what an idiotic question. Like, no, the question was badly worded. But, the idea was right. This team can't push the ball downfield. That's an issue in today's football, especially in today's college football. You have to push the ball downfield. So it goes like it always goes. Penn State loses the big game. James Franklin is 3-17 against AP top 10 opponents. That is all Ohio State and Michigan in one game at Iowa. I was there actually. Sean Clifford got hurt at halftime, and then a backup quarterback, I forget who it was, had to play the second half, and Penn State ended up losing to Iowa. And when Iowa scored in the fourth quarter of that game to take the lead, that was the loudest stadium I've ever been in my life. I've been in a number of stadiums. I've been at Penn State a number of times. I've been at Penn State multiple times when it's been very loud. That day at Iowa, when Iowa took the lead in the fourth quarter, I think that was 2021. I think Iowa was ranked number 2 and Penn State was ranked number 3. That was the loudest fucking place I've ever been in my life. It was absurd. Post-game, Sharon Moore is going. I got a text from T-Man who goes, Bubba Watson is now the coach of Michigan. Bubba Watson, known crier in his post-game interviews. Sharon Moore bawling, also dropping multiple F-bombs, telling Coach Harbaugh, we love the shit out of you. By the way, let's mention all this. Jim Harbaugh was suspended 3 games in relation to this scouting and sign stealing scandal of Connor Stallions at the forefront of it. So Sharon Moore, the offensive coordinator, was the head coach for the game. Harbaugh is allowed to coach the team during the week, but may not be on the sideline. I believe last I knew there's a hearing scheduled for Friday to see if they can get a temporary restraining order on that so he can coach out the rest of the season, and then they can basically figure it out in the offseason. So Michigan knows all this without Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. Mike Yurich, the offensive coordinator for Penn State, who's put together poor game plan after poor game plan after poor play calling after all this all year, has been released, let go, fired, whatever you want to call it. I don't know who's calling plays now going forward, but this is a Band-Aid on the issue. Yeah, Yurich, you can fire him, but it's not the issue. James Franklin is the issue. And here it is. He's 86-38. His buyout is $64 million. That's behind only Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly. That said, Jimbo Fisher was fired. $76 million buyout. I think the money floating around at Texas A&M is a little different than the money that's floating around at Penn State. So, yeah. And this is a great point. As I'm just kind of reading an article, trying to see who's calling plays. 5 offensive coordinators. Ricky Rain left to be Old Dominion. Joe Moorhead left to become Mississippi State head coach. Wait, Franklin was an offensive coordinator and a wide receivers coach? Oofda. He's also had 5 wide receivers. So maybe he's over managing. So they had Donovan for a couple years, Moorhead for a couple years, Rain. They had Saraka. And then we've had Juric the last three years. Jurcic, I think is his name, not Juric. During practices, Franklin is always involved with the offense, which makes sense given his background. On the far side of the field, defensive coordinator Manny Diaz or Brent Pryor about shoot before him run his portion of the practice. Wow. So there you go. There's an even bigger statement that he's involved with the offense. Like this is bad. Manny Diaz has been having himself a hell of a year. After getting run out of Miami, he comes in, puts together, a pretty solid defense. You got to answer for the fact that you got ran the fuck over on Saturday. But for the most part has had a pretty good year. But man, the offense is horrible. And hey, if that's Franklin's calling card, yikes. Elsewhere, Washington hangs on for a win over Utah, despite they have their one of their guys returning an interception, dropping the ball about 3 yards short of the end zone. So that was dicey at best. LSU stomps Florida, boat race, oofta session, whatever you want to call it, behind Jaden Daniels, who has an outrageous game and moves himself to the head of the Heisman race. He goes for 606 total yards, the first QB to ever throw for 300 plus and run for 200 plus yards in the same game. He goes 17 of 26 through the year for 372 and 3 TDs. And then on the ground rushes 12 times for 234 yards and 2 more TDs. Wow. Georgia, who somehow was not the number one team in the nation, crazy. You can compare resumes all you want. When you watch Georgia play, it's different than watching Michigan and Ohio State play. They just absolutely boat race Ole Miss in the Nick Saban former assistant coaches cup. Texas, another squeaker. They keep their hopes alive. They keep their hopes alive for a playoff bid. UNC wins an absolute all-timer with Duke, double overtime. Bama and Iowa keep winning. Bama and Oregon keep winning. Iowa also keeps winning. They play Rutgers. The over-under was 27.5. 27.5. The lowest over-under ever, I believe I saw. They go under no problem. 22. 22-0 win. Colorado loses to Arizona. They're now unlikely to make a bowl this year. A lot of hype early. I was rooting for them to win every game so they could keep rushing the field. Turns out I don't think since I've put my stamp on that they've won too many since. Speaking of rushing the field, it's back. People are complaining about it again. The losers are out. The fucking loser brigade is back. The fucking rushing the field police are back. People are complaining that Clemson rushed the field. We've done this before. I'm not going to lose my mind again. Fucking don't be the rush the field police. Those people suck. Don't suck. Be better than suck. Next week, Utah at Arizona, Georgia at Tennessee, Illinois and Iowa. That over-under is 30.5. We're going to keep an eye on the Iowa over-unders from here out. Kansas State heads to Kansas. And then Washington heads to Oregon State. Oregon State has a hell of a finish to the year. They host Washington and then host Oregon to finish out their year. Looking to play spoiler. Don't know if there's room for a 2-loss team in the college football playoff at the moment. But if they can beat Washington, they can beat Oregon. I don't know if they can would get them into the Pac-12 title game. They beat that could get them in. I don't know who their losses are to. Who'd they lose to? Washington State and Arizona. Okay, Arizona might get them. Either way, they're looking to play spoiler. All right, that's it for college football for this week. Looking forward to next week. Penn State still sucks. Fire Franklin. He's not the answer. Let's move on. Flyers time. Flyers update. I'm going to let you guys know. Didn't see any of the games this week. They were way too late. Way past my bedtime. They started at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So, the Flyers doing exactly what I begged them not to do. They drop a game to the then winless San Jose Sharks. The San Jose Sharks were 0-10 at the time. They have since won another game. They won back-to-back games last week. They beat the Oilers on Thursday as well. So San Jose gets their first win over the Philadelphia Flyers. And then the Flyers do something surprising. They win 2 in a row. They beat the Anaheim Ducks 6-3 and the Kings 4-2. They scored 10 goals over the next 2 games after scoring only 1 against the Sharks. Carter Hart slated to come back, but then gets sick Friday night. I don't believe he was in the goal Saturday either. No, Cal Peterson. There's any relation to Sloan Peterson. So, yeah, a couple wins from the Flyers this week. They are on the edge of, the playoff race right now. They're 7-1, 15 points. They are a mile back of first place in the division, but only 1 point back of the Caps at 16 points for the last of the Metropolitan Division automatic berths. So, yeah. This week, tough week. Start going to Carolina at the Hurricanes on Wednesday. That's a tough game. As I mentioned, the Hurricanes bring it. And then they host a little Saturday-Sunday homestand, an afternoon game Saturday. Again, Saturday games up until playing the Kings last week, just a couple of days ago, have not been kind to the Flyers. So they will host possibly the best team in the league, the best team out west, a team with 25 points already, the most points in the NHL at this point, the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So that's going to be a tough one. The Vegas Golden Knights 7-2-1 in their last 10, compared to a stellar 4-6 from the Flyers. The Flyers do, though, have a positive goal differential, with the 2 teams in front of them just slightly negative, the Devils and the Caps. So, good, a couple of good signs here. And then they host the lowly Blue Jackets on Sunday. So there should be a win. The Blue Jackets are 4-7-4, a division low 12 points so far. Is that? Nope, there's the Blackhawks and the Preds. The Oilers and the Sharks, 5 points and 7 points. I guess I should have thought of that. The Sharks have a minus 49 goal differential. Jesus, what a terrible loss. So, looking forward to watching some Flyers hockey again this week. Probably won't catch a whole lot of Sunday. Maybe that'll make the second TV on Sunday afternoon. But Saturday, don't need to watch any fucking college football. That's for sure. Penn State's not making the big TV, so the Flyers will. All right. Let's keep this thing rolling. What do you say? What do we get to some passing thoughts? What do you think? I think that's a good idea. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's time for some passing thoughts. So let's start this way. Got a couple of quick fight things. Don't really deserve their own segments. We'll just toss them in here. First of all, UFC 295. Every fight on the main card ends in a knockout or TKO. Diego Lopez, round 1, Pat Sabatini. Benoit Saint-Denis, round 1, over Matt Frivola. Jessica Andrade, round 2, over Mackenzie Dern. Tom Aspinall, round 1, over Sergey Pavlovich to win the interim heavyweight championship of the world. And then in the main event, round 2 knockout, Alex Pereira wins his second belt in his second division in like 12 months in UFC as he knocks out Jiří Procházka. All knockouts. All pretty early in the fights. That card must have been fucking flying. I am super looking forward to UFC 296. That's on December 16th, just about a month from now. Headlined by Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards for the welterweight title. Also the flyweight title in the co-main. Pantoja is fighting Brandon Royval. I'm probably butchering that. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is on the main card. Paddy Pimblett fights Tony Ferguson. We'll see if Tony Ferguson is just the ghost of himself or if he's actually still a live body. Josh Emmett on the undercard. Cody Garbrandt also on the undercard. So that's a fun fight night. Cannot wait for that one. And an interesting boxing card getting tossed around as a possibility for December 23rd in Saudi Arabia. They're looking to fill the date that was left by left open by Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. We have kind of a murderer's row of big-name fighters fighting not so big-a-name fighter. Looking to be headlined by Anthony Joshua fighting Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin, if you remember a few years back, gave Tyson Fury all that he wanted and then some in a tough fight. Deontay Wilder will fight Joseph Parker, and then Dimitri Bivol would fight Richard Riviera, and then possibly Daniel Dubois would fight as well, all on one card. Bivol obviously has just squandered his momentum since fighting Canelo, has kind of been waiting for that rematch and never really done much with it. AJ and Wilder should just be fighting each other on this card, but because boxing, we're just not gonna. Of course. Still, not a bad card. Not a bad card. If they charge like $100 for it, not a great card at that point. A reasonable number, if they charge just like 50, it's fucking, they're getting their money. Like, that's the tough thing. Like, Saudi's paying for all this shit. Like, the pay-per-view is just nothing but the cherry on top. Try out a lower pay-per-view price. Who knows? What else am I watching? Let's talk about some upcoming stuff I am super excited for. For All Mankind, season 4. Gotta imagine we're at the tail end of this. You can only make the actors that were fucking going into space in the late 60s. I mean, those guys you'd have to think they're, one of the guys that was supposed to have flown in Korea in the 50s, like, this dude's got to be like 100 by now. So I mean, we're playing fast and loose with it. We're into the early 2000s now, I believe. So about 20 years ago. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's got to be nearing its end. Actually debuted already. I've got some travel coming up. I'm trying to save those episodes till then. Jack Reacher, or they're just calling it Reacher, I believe. Reacher season 2. That's debuting the first 3 episodes on the 15th of December. Very excited for that. And then Masters of the Air, which is also on Apple, like For All Mankind. Kind of, in the same family as Band of Brothers in the Pacific, obviously dealing with air, people who are in the Air Force. Those first 2 episodes are coming out January 26th, so just after For All Mankind finishes up for the season. That's featuring Austin Butler, who is still talking like Elvis. He cannot stop. He refuses to stop. Just refuses to stop. Speaking of Masters of the Air, kind of in the ilk of Band of Brothers in the Pacific, produced by Tom Hanks and Spielberg. I did just rewatch Band of Brothers over the last few weeks. I saw a thing that was like, if you watch X number of episodes at X number of time, you'll finish up around Veterans Day. So I did it. Man, what a show. Just a fucking great show. Just wonderfully put together, an incredible topic, an incredible story, incredible people. World War II veterans are it just amazed me that they did all they did and then just kind of went back and did normal lives. Just really incredible. And then, finished around Veterans Day, and, this is coming out, a few days after Veterans Day, but just a huge thank you, to people. I fucking love this country. I hang the flag behind me, and there's not a lot more out than the people who volunteer for military service that could be sent to wars that, vast majority of us may not agree with, that they may not agree with. But they sign up with the thought that if push comes to shove, they're going to protect the country. So, very admirable. So thank you to them. Band of Brothers, great fucking show. Also, the roommate and I finished Modern Family. I can't remember how long ago we started that. I just fucking found out that Claire Dunphy in Modern Family is the chick from Happy Gilmore. What's her name in Happy Gilmore? She's the, goddamn, I can't think of her name. I gotta look it up here. But yeah, that shocked me. Virginia Bennett. Julie Bowen is Virginia Bennett from Happy Gilmore and then plays Claire Dunphy. I didn't realize that until very, very recently. So, cast me as an idiot there. But Modern Family, fun show. Very good. Probably will rewatch at some point. It's got a rewatchability, kind of essence to it. And it was long enough that we watched like season 1 so long ago that if we get through like another show or start a show that we don't love, I can see the roommate being like, "Oh, it's actually been a lot longer since we started." She'll want to do it. So at some point we'll rewatch it. She did actually joke. She's like, "We could just start it over." I was like, pump the brakes, honey. Scary Movie 3 was on TV the other day. By far the best scary movie out there. It's got maybe one of my favorite moments in any movie. Anthony Anderson and Charlie Sheen and the other guy are coming out of the basement. They're going to go fight the aliens. They all have shovels in their hand, and Anthony Anderson cocks the shovel and it ejects a spent fucking shotgun cartridge. It fucking kills me every time. It's the dumbest shit ever, and I love it. That movie is fucking my favorite scary movie by far, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Also, The Dark Knight was on TV the other day. That movie fucking rocks. That movie is awesome. Like, Heath Ledger obviously is incredible. Just the whole thing, though. God damn, what a movie. Like, that is, like, a great fucking movie. You know, as a good friend of the pod would say, you know, not too much whiz bang to it. Just, you know, a lot of substance. A lot of substance for a superhero movie. Hopefully I don't get accosted by our good friend of the pod, Anthony Sexton, for picking on him there a little bit. The rest, what else? Oh, I saw this good little Twitter thing about Social Security. Could be in a lot of trouble. I mean, if you think about it, like the way it's paid is that there's always, you know, more people contributing to Social Security than there are takers. As we have sort of a generational rebalance, if you will. It won't be long before there's less people paying in that are going to be taking it. Like, it could switch like that. That's kind of scary. Social Security, obviously a weird thing, you know. They just take my money. They get back a portion of it at the end. Taxes, you know. And we'll end on this. You've probably heard me mention there's not good pizza in the Midwest. I travel across many states in the Midwest. There's not a lot of good pizza out here. There's pockets of it here and there, and I found a decent spot. I was passing through Fond du Lac. Is it Sal's in Fond du Lac? Sal's Pizza? I think it was Sal's Pizza. I'm going to shout it out. Sal's Pizza in Fond du Lac. First off, I saw how it looked on Yelp when I looked it up, and it looked right. And then when I walked in, it was like a skinny little lane. Pizza oven, they had the pizzas out. You know, they were cooked, and you just had to get them heated up. That looked right. It was cut in triangles, which for some reason is not common in the Midwest. They like to dice the fucking pizza up in 85 different slices. Give me a triangle. Give me so I can get a slice of pie. And it was good. So I got a couple pieces, and I got a cheese, and I got one meat lovers. And I'm so trained in, like, yeah, you got to have all this shit on your pizza now because the pizza's just so, you want to have, like, stuff to go with it. And it really reminded me. This was a good, solid piece of pizza. For all I know, it probably sucked.
100%, it fucking sucked. It may be the best pizza in Wisconsin, but compared to what the rat on my fucking windowsill is eating, it wasn't fucking shit.
But in comparison to everything else I eat out here, it was pretty good. I mean, maybe if it was back east, it probably wasn't even that good. But, like, it felt like the right building. You know, the guy who was running it was, like, very obviously very invested in it. Probably the owner. And it was so good in comparison to what I normally have. But it hit me. The cheese was way better than the meat lovers. And the better the pizza, the less toppings it needs to be good. And it almost gets to a point where if you start adding toppings, it's not as good. And that was exactly the case. The cheese was way better than the meat lovers. Like, the meat lovers just had too much going on. And when a pizza's right, and a regular cheese or regular pepperoni pizza is done correctly, you don't need anything else. You want to maybe get a little onion or mushroom, fine. Or just sausage and mushroom, or like just sausage and cheese. Like, but the best pizza, you don't need to put anything else on it. Pizza's perfect the way it is, with just cheese and pizza and maybe a little pep. But yeah, that's all I had. That was just, pizza is better. The better the pizza, the less toppings you need. And God, it just, the place, it just looked right. It felt right. Got just a crappy cup for your soda. Just a standard, styrofoam cup. It was right, man. It was right. Sal's Pizza, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. All right, that's all I got for today. Why don't we go wrap this thing up? What do you say? Closing time, everybody. You know, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. So this is the beginning of the end here at Ole Walls House number 97. 97 times I've done this. Coming up on episode 100. I'm going to try and do something fun for episode 100. I'm going to try. See if I can do it. Just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for sharing if you do. Appreciate all you guys. Having fun. Hope you guys are having fun too. As always, huge thank you to producer Kevy.
You fucking visit New York and Italy and eat some fucking pizza with me, and then we'll talk about thinking.
He gets this thing out for us, so thank you. Going to be back next week. More football, more hockey, more fun stuff. You know, more passing thoughts, more shenanigans. As always, if you guys need 20% off Liquid IV, promo code OWH, liquidiv.com. All right, until next week. Peace.